and beyond. Brought to you by the Mariana Outdoorsman Association and by Wild Acres Farm, Fishery, and Regulated Hunting Grounds. Now, the great outdoors with Jason White.
Hello, friends. I'm Jason White. Welcome to the Great Outdoors. I have an interesting show today. Going to be diving into some Pennsylvania Game Commission budgetary numbers. Going to be talking about some Pennsylvania Farm Bureau policies, some legislation through the State House and Senate that's currently being pushed forward. So I'm really looking forward to diving into some of these interesting topics. Want to give a special thanks to the Mariana Outdoorsman Association. You can join the MOA today. You get the rest of 2024 for free if you join now. It's our early bird special. You can, again, join today. You get the rest of 2024 for free, and then you get all of 2025. So you're getting a 2025 membership, and you're getting the last few months of 2024 for free. Go to marianaoutdoors.com. Again, that's marianaoutdoors.com. If you have any questions, please give us a call, 724-579-0924. Again, 724-579-0924. Wild Acres Farm, Fishery, and Regulated Hunting Grounds. If you're looking to book an upland bird hunt, if you're looking to do a guided trout fishing trip, if you're looking to do a free-ranging white-tailed deer hunt, free-ranging turkey hunt in the upcoming spring, please check us out at 10mileco.org. Again, 10mileco.org, or give us a call at 724-579-0924. We have lodging on site, very nice amenities, historical farmhouse. I think you will absolutely love it. No fence. Can't reiterate. No fences. Everything's free ranging, wild, and certainly I think you will have an amazing time. Looking ahead, as far as the Mariana Outdoorsman Association is concerned, got some upcoming events. I know I just mentioned about the early bird special that's now going on for the fall. So if you're not a member and you want to join, certainly it's a tremendous time to do so, considering the fact that the upland bird stalkings began yesterday. Started off with a very large quail stalking. This upcoming Saturday is the annual dove hunt. We'll be having check-in and registration at Wild Acres Farm, 1997 Maury Road, Clarksville, Pennsylvania, 15322. That'll be at 6:30 a.m. in the morning. State and federal laws apply. That same Saturday at 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. there will be an open house and tour. Same address, 1997 Maury Road, Clarksville, PA, 15322. Come check us out. Happy to have you. Tentatively, we have just a hold the date in October for our fall trout stalking as we kind of get fired back up. The finalized date is to be determined. We really don't know that yet. We're not going to know it until we just kind of see what the water temperatures end up being and how things kind of progress forward. So we have it as a placeholder for right now. So please keep us, please stay tuned. Watch the Facebook, watch marianaoutdoors.com. And certainly I'll continue to keep people up to speed on the radio and podcast. Saturday, October 19th. Looks like we will be having our annual, it's our inaugural, but we're going to have annual gun bashes. This one's an energy and sportsmanship bash collaborating with the U.S. Oil and Gas Alliance, and it's with the Mariana Outdoorsman Association, held at 19 North Event Venue in Washington, PA. If you're not familiar with that facility, it is, if you're looking at the front of the Washington County Courthouse, it's about a half block to your right. And it's catty-corner to the President's Pub. We certainly look forward to seeing everybody. Money raised is going to go towards conservation efforts. And, as I've told you on past shows, we're doing a lot when it comes to habitat improvement. We're actually, sometime in September here, we're going to be doing a stream habitat project. So I'm really excited about that and looking forward to where things go. Please keep us posted, and if you're interested, again, as always, marianaoutdoors.com, Mariana Outdoorsman Association at Facebook. You can follow us on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Spotify, Anchor Radio, all the different platforms, YouTube, you name it. We're kind of out there. So looking forward to it. Kind of wanted to go over some of these topics of discussion. There's a legislative package that's kind of out there between the House and the Senate that is, I guess the best way to describe it is kind of going over the issues. I know I've talked about this, issues, solutions, enforcement of current laws and how there's going to be changes. So I'll start off with powers and duties of the enforcement officers. There's currently no specific prohibition on listing officers' home address on official documents. Legislative changes is that House Bill 2107 is going to prohibit officers from listing their home addresses on citations or official documents. I can't really comment too much on this one. I'm not really 100% positive as to what prompted this or how that came about, considering that if somebody is a registered voter, it's not really that hard to go figure out where somebody lives. So I'm not really sure as to how this even was a thing or why their addresses were listed. I need to get more information on that one, but that is one of the current things that's being amended within the legislative reforms that has passed. What I just read is actually House Bill 2107. Also, mitigation of damage. Farmers may need to, the current law, farmers may need to wait for authorized agents for removal of game. House Bill 2107, the way that it will be amended, it says farmers can kill, dress, and transport deer or other game causing damage to their crops without waiting for an authorized agent. So basically, the way it is right now when there's agricultural crop damage, the way it stands today, doesn't necessarily, you have to wait for a game warden to come to transport. And what ends up happening a lot of times is the deer can end up spoiling, especially in warmer temperatures. So with this particular amendment, it would allow the farmer, shooter, etc., to be able to be the transporter, and you won't have to wait, and it would actually be a prime opportunity for saving the meat so it doesn't spoil. The next one, Registry of Responsible Hunters. I really love this. Currently, there's no existing database. House Bill 2107 requires the Pennsylvania Game Commission to develop and maintain a voluntary directory of responsible hunters to assist farmers. Details, opt-in process, qualifications, and maintenance. So this is a very interesting thought idea. I can tell you I'm a private property rights individual. I believe in your constitutional rights of your land. A lot of the Game Commission programs that do exist, basically, if you sign up, you're basically forced into having to give up your rights and allow your property open to the general public. Personally, I completely disagree with such a notion. This changes that premise. So basically, there would be a training program established that hunters could sign up for. They would go through some type of training protocols, etc. Their name would go on a list, and basically farmers could contact them, and vice versa. They could reach out, to let somebody know, hey, I'm a trained hunter, and I went through the training classes, and but it gives the landowner discretion to who can and cannot come on the property. So I think that's fantastic. I think it's a step in the right direction. I do not personally believe that someone should be forced to allow every person to come on their property, because I've seen a lot of irresponsible hunters that either go on public land or even these public access properties, and it's problematic because it gives you get a few bad apples and it can make the whole group of people look bad. So I think it's an important step forward, not only for private property rights, but also to just get more, I think, general awareness of the fact that we should be responsible. You go on somebody's land, you should be respectful, responsible, and it's just not a free for all that you can come and do what you want. Next issue, composition of Pennsylvania Game Commission. The Game Commission consists of members appointed by the governor. House Bill 2108 requires at least one member to be knowledgeable in wildlife management and activity engaged in normal agricultural operations. I've heard blowback from different people within the Game Commission and the Fish Commission about this. I think that's utterly nonsense, and to be honest with you, I think it's a completely ignorant statement for them to say such a thing. I could tell you I interviewed for the regional, or I'm sorry, it was an at-large position for the Pennsylvania Game Commission, and the entire advisory council represented Trout Unlimited. So the people that were interviewing me had a major influence in their own regard with their own, organizations, which what they do privately, I bless them, whatever, that's fine. Thumbs up to what they do with their charitable endeavors. But, right now, these activities are taking place. So even the interviewers have we'll just call it a bias or a swayed view of who should even be recommended. And then the people that are on these boards, then by not having agricultural knowledge or experience, it raises a lot of questions, because if you don't make sure that's a mandatory necessity, I've said this in past episodes, the Game Commission has statistics that, the number of deer harvested on private land is approximately like 85% of the total deer harvested. That alone, when you think about wildlife and crop damages, and you talk about harvesting of white-tailed deer, harvesting of other animals in general, there's tremendous impacts and implications to private landowners, private property rights, etc. And if we can't, have knowledgeable voices on these boards that can provide solutions to problems or innovative ideas, what are we doing? And, that is ultimately what this is raising awareness to. We live in a representative republic, and it's just simply saying that this segment of society should have a voice at the table. This is not about adding any particular organization, lobbying groups, so on and so forth. It's just simply saying that somebody on that board should have knowledge in the areas of wildlife management and actively engage in agricultural operations. Agricultural operations is a wide variety of options. I mean, think about it. From dairy farms to orchards to sunflower farms to you could even say things such as aquaculture, like your fish farms, etc. There's a wide variety of things out there, not to mention people that manage like the Tractor Supply companies of the world, or big businesses like that provide products to people in the agricultural community. There's a lot of things out there, a lot of people that have a lot of knowledge that could be very influential, and I would say provide positive insight to solutions to meet the needs of the general public. The next issue, wildlife management program coordination. Currently, there is limited coordination between various wildlife management programs and agricultural needs. This is under Senate Bill 67. It would update Title 34, which is the game and trapping laws, by clarifying and enhancing the roles and responsibilities of wildlife management programs, including improved coordination between various agencies and stakeholders involved in wildlife management. I think when you look at something like this, you're talking about transparency. You're talking about giving people better information, clarity, making things clear for everyone to be able to, participate in whatever programs. You shouldn't have to go to college. You shouldn't have to have a PhD to figure out like what programs are out there and what's available. So making things simple, fluid, and clearly, even the different agencies sharing information. So, say somebody goes to your local conservation district and they say, hey, I'm having problems or I have this issue. Well, there should be, I would say, a symbiotic relationship between your local conservation district, programs within the Game Commission, programs within the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission, programs within the Department of Environmental Protection, so on and so forth, Department of Agriculture. The list goes on and on. You have to have conduits of vessels to get information. So this is a positive step in the right direction. Compensation for wildlife damage. The current law, no current provisions for compensation in Title 34. Senate Bill 67 establishes a program to compensate farmers for damages caused by wildlife, including deer. Details the process for applying for and receiving compensation. I understand, and I know that maybe some people might see this as I don't know, questionable or contentious or whatever the words may be. I would give you this example, and I think it's a pretty simple example. Number one, the Pennsylvania Game Commission is the wildlife management agency. If wildlife is causing you as a person private property damages and you reach out to them and the prevention or preventative measures or resolutions aren't able to be garnered, and clearly there's a paper trail and you have documentation and pictures and obviously, you're not just crying wolf, but if the situation is real and the situation is not addressed by the Wildlife Management Agency, then yeah, absolutely. I mean, you should be provided the tools or resources to address protection of your private property. I gave this example recently. I said, if I went to a private property owner's house and let's say they got $10,000 worth of landscaping around their house and I just decide, you know what, I'm going to cut it all down. I'm going to go home and use it for I'll just say tinder on a bonfire that I want to have. Well, that person would have full legal rights to take me to court and to get money for their damages and to get, their property put back to the way it was. This is very similar. Instead of me, think of it being wildlife. But at the end of the day, the Game Commission is the wildlife management agency. And we need to bring more awareness to the fact of that. We need to bring more awareness to the fact of what people are dealing with and going through when it comes to wildlife damages. I'm sorry, but people are constantly raising awareness to this. Pennsylvania is behind the times from data collection to, I would say, how we manage wildlife in general. Are we doing a good job of it? Are we not? I would say, in my humble opinion, we're not. From what I've seen, experienced, the things I've dealt with, I would say that the Game Commission got into a bad habit of, we're just going to do things the way we want to do them. And that doesn't necessarily account for what are the negative implications on society. And now you're seeing farmers with crop damage losses in astronomical amounts. Pennsylvania, their annual crop damage losses, and this is reported by the Farm Bureau, is somewhere between $30 and $50 million annually. That's an astronomical amount of money. When you think about it, that is money that's leaving the economy. And when you talk about inflation, we don't really talk about wildlife damages as a contributor to inflation, but every year the wildlife is being ignored and how it is astronomically impacting the food system, the food chain, etc. Supply and demand. It's economics 101. And if farmers, consumers, etc., if we're losing, or the producers, I should say, if we're losing the amount of crop yields that we're talking about here, that then drives up prices. If prices drive up, then you're going to see higher grocery bills, so on and so forth. Higher grocery bills, it's part of the whole inflation issue that we're dealing with. So the golden question then arises is, there's a choice. The Game Commission can either acknowledge this and try to address the damages by adequately managing that wildlife species or multiple species. Maybe there's opportunity for fencing. Maybe there's opportunity for netting. Maybe there's other viable ways that the prevention or Maybe you have a situation where it's like Canadian geese. They come in and they're getting into people's different type of grain fields. If you have those scenarios, yeah, they can be captured and even relocated. It's a migratory bird. It's not the end of the world. Not to say they won't come back, but at the end of the day, people just want viable tools to address their private property damages, because at the end of the day, if it was your bottom line, being the listener of this show, if it was your bottom line and you were losing your income, if somebody came and took some of your livelihood, you'd be upset. And that's all these people. That is what this addresses, is the fact that the Game Commission is a wildlife management agency. They need to manage wildlife. When people have private property damages, despite whether they're a hobby farmer, whether they're a full-time farmer, whether they work 9 to 5 at a factory and come home and they do wildflowers or sunflowers as a side thing just for extra money. Well, God bless you. That's an extra form of income. But if the wildlife does not offer that opportunity because they're destroying your property, this is where this becomes such a tremendous issue. So, this isn't about eradicating or anything in those lines of any species whatsoever. This is about adequate wildlife management. This is about a balance of the ecosystem, and clearly in many capacities, at least in my opinion, we are way tipping the scales. I talked about some of these things before in the past, and I wanted to go over some of the programs for managing deer populations that exist today. One of them is the Agricultural Deer Control, the AgTag program. It helps landowners control deer that are damaging crops, provides permits to landowners to allow hunters to remove antlerless deer outside of regular seasons. The application process includes landowners contact the Game Commission regional office or the district state game warden to apply. Hunter participation: hunters must have a valid hunting license or an exemption, obtain up to 4 coupons from participating landowners, redeem coupons for antlerless deer harvest permits and licensed agents or online. Report harvest or no harvest by April the 30th. Then there's a DMAP program, Deer Management Assistance Program. The purpose is to manage deer during established hunting seasons. Basically, these are extra tags that a farmer could get during the allocated season. What it does, provides additional permits for antlerless deer based on property size and management needs. 1 permit per 5 acres of cultivated land or per 50 acres of other land use. More permits may be available with Game Commission approval. Landowners can issue up to 4 coupons per property, or hunters can purchase permits directly. Hunter application: you can obtain permits through coupons or directly from licensed agents. Report harvest or no harvest by April 30th. And then there's the Hunter Access Program. Provides access to private lands for hunting and wildlife management, connects landowners and hunters to wildlife management populations. I personally am not the biggest fan of this because you're basically giving up your private property rights. Don't get me wrong. I think that there's times and places for things like this, but I think it's more of, I think a landowner needs to know who's coming on their land. That's just my opinion. That doesn't mean everybody has to follow my opinion, but that's my opinion. I think you as a landowner, if you own the land, you deserve to know who's coming on your property. I wanted to go over the differences between Title 18, Title 30, and Title 34. These are all critical when it comes to criminal trespass, because as of part of these legislative reforms, we've been really advocating for, with the Pennsylvania Farm Bureau, for private property criminal trespass reform. That falls underneath of all three of these titles. Title 18, which falls underneath crimes and offenses. Title 18 outlines laws and procedures for addressing criminal behavior in Pennsylvania, including offenses related to property and land use. Trespassing, which addresses unlawful entry onto private property, including unauthorized access to land or facilities. Property damage defines penalties for intentional or negligent damage to property, including vandalism or destruction. Unlawful activities covers illegal activities that may impact land use or management, such as unauthorized removal of resources or equipment. Title 18 provides a legal framework for managing and prosecuting offenses that affect property and land, ensuring that individuals who engage in unauthorized or harmful activities are held accountable. So if you are not in the act of hunting, trapping, fishing, or boating, predominantly it falls underneath of Title 18. So if somebody's quad riding on your property illegally, if somebody's coming on your property and stealing something, if somebody's coming on your property and doing property damages of any kind, excuse me, it all falls underneath of Title 18. Title 30, Fish and Boat Code. The Title 30 governs fishing and boating activities in Pennsylvania. While it primarily focuses on aquatic life and waterway management, it intersects with wildlife regulations where fishing and boating impacts habitat or species management. It regulates fishing seasons, methods, and licensing. Includes provisions for conservation of aquatic habitats and species. Enforces safety and environmental standards for boating activities. Believe it or not, there's actually a lot of people that will trespass on people's property that gain access to a stream, which is a whole different ball of wax when you want to get into legal rights. Although the water is owned by the Commonwealth and the people, the ground under the water, not so much. There are different times where this applies in regards to public waterways. But those must be, there's rules, regulations, and laws, and the court system must define what is a navigable waterway, which is accessible to the public. There are rules, regulations, and there's a legal process going through the state courts to define what is a navigable waterway in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And basically, to give you a little cut and dry on that one, it had to have been used historically for pelts, moving of timber, barges, etc., of commerce, a means of commerce. So that doesn't mean, a lot of people were dealing with this up Lake Erie, because some of the tributaries going into Lake Erie are not navigable waterways, and people thought, oh, well, just because, the steelhead are running up the stream, I'm just going to go on whatever property I want. You can't do that. You can't just walk up a stream onto different people's property and think that, you can just go onto their land. So that's a very contentious thing. I know even talking about it, because there's fishermen that want to have access everywhere, and hey, I understand. But we have laws and rules and regulations that protect private property rights, and, it should be respected. And you certainly should know what is a navigable waterway by law. Be sure, dot your I's, cross your T's before you think it's a wise decision to go just walking on somebody's land, because people do have rights. So I just say that from experience. Title 34, the Game and Wildlife Code. Title 34 is the primary legal framework for managing game and wildlife in Pennsylvania. It covers hunting regulations, wildlife conservation efforts, and the management of wildlife populations. Management of wildlife populations. Title 34, Game Commission. Establishes hunting season, bag limits, and licensing requirements, which are all critical towards keeping the ecosystem in balance, and also conservation-minded approach to wildlife management. Regulates the use of hunting equipment and methods. Again, methods to proper wildlife management. Provides guidelines for wildlife management programs like the Ag Tag and DMAP. Details the responsibility of the Pennsylvania Game Commission, wildlife conservation, and law enforcement. All of that is very, very critical that people know and understand who's responsible for what, and who's responsible for managing what, and maybe who's not doing the best job at what. But I won't dive too far down the rabbit hole of all those different thoughts and ideas, but you get what I'm saying. There's a lot of different topics that fall underneath of these legislative proposals that I think are truly fantastic. have a lot of benefits to the hunting community, have a lot of benefits to the economic community of Pennsylvania, have a lot of benefits to tourism, just you name it, it's good. Including I'm passed up, but Sunday hunting as part of this whole network of bills. This will end the prohibition on Sunday hunting. So I think that's all critical. I want to talk a little bit about game lands. I know in past, episodes I've talked about game lands, and I think the Game Commission is coming more to the center of the table to have this conversation. I recently had a conversation with some folks in Washington County, and I want to applaud the Washington County Commissioners because they actually established their own, don't quote me, but it's basically like their own internal policy that any natural resource monies that are garnered from the parks, at one time it used to be 100% that went back into the parks. Well, the amount of oil and gas money, et cetera, that they were getting was such an astronomical amount of money, they couldn't spend it all. So they basically established that it had to be 50% or more of the money stay in the parks. With that being said, I started thinking about this idea from a game lands perspective. And in 2023, from the game lands, the total revenue for natural resources is listed at approximately $387 million. Again, the total revenue from natural resources from game lands was approximately $387 million. The thing that I cannot grasp, I guess, in my head is there really is no policy or procedure to the methodology of Washington County of how they basically said, hey, so much has to stay here, so much can be used, for other things. With this, I see the same opportunity. To me, it's a red flag right now because it's not being done, and it's very concerning. I've seen numerous game lands that do not look so good. Jagger bushes, pricker bushes, weeds, growing up in places where pheasants are stalked. Upland bird hunting is meant to be done, dove hunting, so on and so forth. The habitat management is lackluster at best. And hear me out here. So let's take this premise of there's $387 million approximately in 2023 that came from these properties. The Game Commission has acknowledged now that they have this giant surplus of $500 million roughly, give or take. That being said, it raises this giant question of if we have those types of monies, why are we not spending more money on the properties and within those counties? So you're talking about just the plantings. You could put out a purchase order, a requisition, and people could bid on it, and local farmers could come and just plant habitat with their equipment for wildlife consumption, which would benefit all wildlife. That being said, the seed could be purchased locally, the fuel could be purchased locally, the fertilizer could be purchased locally. All benefits to the local communities, economy, etc. More money could be allocated from this money towards education in local schools. Some of you might be saying, well, that's not really important. I couldn't disagree with you more. Why do I say this? Hunting, trapping, fishing is environmental science. It's biology. It is physics, mathematics, agriculture. The list goes on and on to the things that could be taken and extracted from the Game Commission and the Fish Commission and incorporated into our school system. To me, it's a travesty that we aren't more involved with the schools. I'm well aware that the reason that they're not is because of firearms, which is its own debate. I think that's ridiculous. I think people that are well educated would better understand firearms, but that's its own discussion. If you look at it strictly from a science perspective, again, biology, environmental science, you're talking about the science of the streams, the science of the trees, the science of agriculture, field planting, soil samples, all these different things. It's all around us. These are things that impact people, that impact our daily lives. They are educational opportunities that could be directly incorporated into the schooling systems, and we're not doing it. So again, a golden opportunity for more of these monies to stay within those local communities, county, that area, to better educate children about the outdoors and how it impacts their daily lives, how there's job opportunities in different arenas. Think about it. Think about it. From companies that build farm equipment to seed companies to people that have dairy farms to people that decide that they want to convert milk into cheese and get into that arena. People that want to just have veggie farms or people that want to play in orchards. There are so many options. Sunflower fields, pressing sunflowers and making sunflower oil. There's such a wide variety of things that comes from the outdoors, but it all connects with nature. It all connects with plants and animals, and it's just one giant symbiotic relationship, but we're not doing a good enough job in schools to teach children. And using the excuse of firearms, to me, is so it's so cutting off your nose to spite your face. It's a very ignorant proposition. It's a very narrow-minded way of thinking. All this stuff can be talked about. Personally, I think children should learn about firearms. I think they should learn about gun safety and learning how to properly handle firearms, so on and so forth. I believe that. That's my belief. I believe in the Second Amendment. But that being said, to not have these programs in schools because of that is utter nonsense. There are so many other things that have nothing to do with firearms that tackle the sciences, the biologies, the mathematics, the physics, agriculture, so on and so forth. So, we need to just do a better job of understanding our world, understanding how we live in it, understand how it impacts the economy, understanding how, just like when we're talking today about deer damages, et cetera, how there's such giant implications even into how we're seeing inflation. Hey, if people don't have the products, guess what? We got to get them from somewhere else. And if we got to get them from somewhere else, now you're paying additional shipping and handling. Now you're paying additional transport fees beyond double handling, triple handling, instead of buying it local. So there's a lot of implications to what we're talking about. But really, think about the amount of money that's coming out of our game lands from natural resources and the fact that we don't have a really good process as to how the monies are being diverted back and being spent in the local economy. Think about it. These monies are sitting in interest-bearing accounts. Some, I'm sure, are in probably non-interest-bearing accounts. It doesn't really matter. To have that amount of money just sitting there doing nothing instead of being infused back into the economy, buying seed, buying fertilizer, fuel, I could go right on down the line of things, buying trees, buying things, like doing things in the system so, the economy can roll. It only makes total and utter sense. Better educating kids, spending money in local economy, spending money in your county economy. It's a win-win across the board. So I'm really hopeful. Sounds like the Game Commission is being more open to these conversations and understanding where, I think change is desperately needed. Having an open mind to the future is critical, and I'm going to keep following up about this because I actually want to dive into what's coming off of what game land properties, what are the budgetary numbers from each of those properties, and really dissecting that and diving down into a deep dive to give you really the macro and the micro, looks of things. So really excited for the future. That being said, I want to give a special thanks again to the Marion Outdoorsman Association. You can join today on our early bird special. You get the remainder of the year for free with your 2025 membership. It's a heck of a deal. You can join at MarianaOutdoors.com. Again, MarianaOutdoors.com, or give us a call at 724-579-0924. This upcoming Saturday, we have our annual dove hunt, which will take place at 7 a.m. Please give us a call, 724-579-0924. Registration will be at 6:30 a.m. at our lodge, 1997 Morey Road, Clarksville, PA, 15322. And we will have an open house and tour the same day, 10 a.m. till 12 p.m. Special thanks again to Wild Acres Farm Fishery and Regulated Hunting Grounds. If you're looking to book a free-ranging whitetail hunt, if you're looking to book a free-ranging turkey hunt, upland bird hunt, guided trout fishing trip, we're definitely the spot. Certainly beautiful surroundings, beautiful lodging, 724-579-0924, 10mileco.org. I'm Jason White. This has been The Great Outdoors. I will see everybody next week. Have a blessed week, y'all.